Hey there, positive managers. Welcome back. In the previous two modules, you've seen your bird's eye view of the next 4 months and scheduled your way to success, making time for the program, coaching, and homework. Now, in this module, we're going to look at what I call the big picture. Are you frustrated by trying to figure out how to best hold your employees accountable? Are you hesitant to confront employees about performance issues? Do you just have too much stuff on your plate? Or too many plates? Are you wondering whether you're a failure as a manager, or whether being a manager is even worth it? What if you could have employees who not only don't mind being held accountable, but were engaged and successful? What if you could not only comfortably address performance issues, but also fix them? What if you could not only reconfigure your bandwidth to tap into your own genius zone, but grow your team at the same time? What if, after completing this program, you were succeeding as a manager beyond your and anyone else's expectations? What would your life look like? Take a moment and think about that. Now write down 3 words that describe how that would make you feel. I'll give you a moment. If you struggle believing things could change that much, then you're in the right place. I'd like to take a minute to share my story with you because you may think that I became a performance management coach and trainer because I'd been such a great manager along the way. But it was actually when I experienced being managed by a horrible boss, someone everyone referred to as a terrorist, that I discovered my true calling. I thought I'd been hired for my expertise and opinions. After all, by that time in my career, I'd been a judge, so I had opinions. Now, with a lot of that great 2020 hindsight, my theory is that I was hired for what I thought and knew, but not because of any alignment with my boss. I think she believed she needed a counterpoint to her opinions, but once she had me there in front of her, the reality of an eager brainstormer brimming with ideas on how to make things better, well, it painfully clashed with her style. You see, she was a processor who agonized over decisions and then spent the following week second-guessing herself and flip-flopping multiple times before a deadline passed and she was forced to move forward. But I'd taken the job to be closer to our grandkids and had moved across the country, so I was invested. And more importantly, at my core, I'm a positive person. And because my horrible boss managed a key department, the toxic culture she'd created rippled throughout the organization. As a problem solver and coach by nature, I found myself thinking about what she needed to help her become a better manager of people. And by then I knew she wouldn't take any suggestions from me directly. So I started creating and offering tools and training to the organization's managers, hoping she'd attend. She didn't, but other department directors and managers across the company started flocking to each of my training sessions, and many asked for off-site one-on-one coaching. This was a new area of work for me at that time, but I loved it, and the difference it was making in the organization was amazing. So I left the organization and turned my negative experience into my positively managing method. And I know it works because I've seen it happen over and over. There have been libraries full of management books written on managing employees, but the majority fail to explain exactly how to accomplish it. This failure leaves you, whether a new or experienced manager, without a clear understanding of your role and essential functions. Well, this program isn't about theory. It's about doing, the how-to of doing. I'm going to teach you exactly how to create a high-performance work environment. How do I define a high-performance work environment? Well, I believe it is an environment that maximizes the performance of individuals, where the goals of the organization are met by thoroughly engaged employees. Let me repeat that last part. By thoroughly engaged employees. But why should you care if your employees are engaged if they aren't even successfully performing and you already have too much on your plate. Because employee engagement, or rather the lack of it, is costing your organization big time. Organizations with low employee engagement scores experience 18% lower productivity, 16% lower profitability, 37% lower job growth, and 65% lower share price over time. And those numbers should matter to you. Gallup defines engaged employees as those who are involved in, enthusiastic about, and committed to their work and workplace, and first began measuring and reporting on U.S. workplace engagement in 2000. Every year since, they've continued to find that less than 1/3 of employees in the U.S. are engaged in their jobs in any given year. That means over 70% of our employees aren't fully engaged. In the best possible light, that means more than 2/3 of our employees are indifferent, sleepwalking through their workday without regard for either their performance or their organization's performance. More than 2/3. And this group, 71% of your workforce, has a 37% higher rate of absenteeism, 49% more accidents, and 60% more errors and defects in their work than your engaged employees. And worse yet, a subset of your disengaged employees, a full 26% of your workforce, is actively disengaged. Not only are they unhappy at work, they're intent on acting out their unhappiness. They monopolize your time and drive away customers. Whatever engaged employees do, such as solve problems, innovate, and create new customers, actively disengaged employees will work to undermine. And this is an expensive problem for all employers. However, because you're disengaged and actively disengaged employees make up more than 2/3 of your workforce, the upside is that they offer the greatest untapped opportunity for your organization. Increasing the engagement of even a small percentage of this group is the most effective strategy that your organization can implement to increase productivity and sustainable long-term growth. Organizations with highly engaged employees experience an average 3-year revenue growth over 2 times greater than companies whose employees are only engaged at an average level. Employees who exercise their strengths daily are 8% more productive and 6 times more likely to be engaged. Teams with high employee engagement rates are 21% more productive and have 28% less internal theft than those with low engagement. Customer retention rates are 18% higher on average when employees are highly engaged. And Gallup found overwhelmingly that managers, and by that I mean managers of people, a term which I will use to refer to you throughout this program, are the key to employee engagement. And the sad fact is that managers of people aren't creating environments that engage their employees. So it's important for you to understand what you and your fellow managers may be doing in the workplace to create or destroy engagement. But first, before engagement can happen, in fact, before better management can happen, organizations must stop viewing their employees as a cost item. Many organizations see their products and customers as the source of profit and value. Sadly, when an organization puts its workforce on the cost side of the financial equation, it misses a vital piece of the puzzle. And frankly, because Richard Branson gets it, I tend to quote him often. Not only are employees more than a cost item, they're your organization's most valuable asset. Your employees sell your products. They also contribute value by identifying or implementing cost savings in production, purchasing, and distribution. And as a living asset, they're capable of growing and improving with effective performance management. There are also several attributes that employees bring to the table that generate intangible value, such as communication skills, teamwork, and leadership. They generate goodwill through interpersonal relationships, both inside and outside of the organization. I concede these benefits are difficult to measure, but they're real and often unrecognized by management until it's too late, like when you lose an exceptional employee to a competitor due to ineffective management. Most strategies like mergers and acquisitions, entering new markets and product launches, fail because of poor execution. And let's face it, poor execution is most often directly attributable to poor performance management. According to a recent Dale Carnegie white paper, an organization's workforce is the single thing that creates sustainable competitive advantage and therefore ROI, organizational value, and long-term strength. In the fight for competitive advantage, where employees are the differentiator, highly engaged employees are the ultimate goal. There are essentially 3 levers you can pull to change employee behavior, increase employee engagement, and create that high-performance work environment. The first has to do with what employees achieve, their goals. And we're not talking about goal setting to justify compensation. We're talking about goals as a tool of strategic communication. What's the employee's role within the organization? What are the goals of the organization? And what does the employee need to accomplish to support those goals? We're going to look deeper at this later in the program. This is about motivation and attention. Are people focusing on the right things? As a manager, you have to be very clear on what people are supposed to achieve in their jobs because it's one of the major keys to employee engagement. The second lever controls feedback and coaching on how to be successful. It's consistent and meaningful feedback and coaching that have been proven effective in getting employees to change their behavior, not that annual performance review. And we'll look at this in depth. Goal setting, feedback, and coaching, they're what increase engagement and productivity in the short term. To sustain engagement and productivity over the long term and retain your high performers, you have to also assign work that allows your employees to acquire new skills and tap into their passions and genius zones. And this is where my manager multiplier effect will come in. The third thing you can focus on if your employees still aren't performing at the expected level, and this is the hardest to change, is making sure they have the skills, interests, and aptitudes they need to achieve their goals. There are 2 keys to this one. First, clearly defining their job expectations, and second, making it a job expectation that they problem solve. And again, I'm going to help you with this. If you use these 3 levers, it'll be easier for both you and the organization to recruit and retain high performers. You'll also enjoy developing your direct report as well as learning from them. It took me months to do the big thinking around this program and what it really was all about, and then to simplify, streamline, and be able to clearly articulate how I was going to get you from mission to mission accomplished. It's not a coincidence that we've dedicated the first 5 weeks of this program to you creating your expectations blueprint for each position you manage. And the important thing to keep in mind as you go through each training and take each action is to keep moving forward and stay with the program. Because you may need to get to the end of phase 3 before you have 100% clarity on the beginning. In other words, work you do in phase 3 may change choices you made earlier in the process. And that's completely natural and what iterating your way to awesome is all about. You have an idea. You take action on that idea by completing the exercises and moving forward, even if you're not 100% sure on your choices. Simply by staying in action, you get more clarity, which allows you to refine and redefine your idea into something bigger, better, and brighter than you could have possibly come up with at the beginning of the process. But the only way to get to those bigger, better, and brighter ideas is to keep moving forward. You're not supposed to have it all figured out yet. Don't allow yourself to get hung up on something that doesn't feel perfect or just right, because if you stop, you'll never get the clarity that comes from moving forward. Chances are you became a manager in part because you were a strong individual contributor. But as a manager, those traits can be both a blessing and a curse. As a high performer, you're likely a dependable and valued producer. You learned vital skills and behaviors that positively impacted your organization and those around you. But at the same time, a lot of you find it hard to let go of the things you do well, even if doing so will engage those who report to you, allow them to grow, and positively impact the organization. Many of you think that it's easier, faster, or just plain safer to continue to do the things you do well yourself. If you're a me first manager, you're inadvertently limiting your career advancement and frustrating those direct reports who are in your charge. And your senior leadership is watching you do this, and they're not impressed. But for this process to work, you've got to relax and let go of judgment. You've got to own your experience and trust the process. And do not allow yourself to become overwhelmed. After all, Rome wasn't built in a day. Say, "I'm getting this," if you're getting it. Go ahead. Talk to yourself. It's okay. Come on. Say, "I'm getting this." Good. So that's the big picture. And with it, I hope I've helped you see the value of employee engagement to both you and your organization, and to understand that positively managing performance is about far more than just helping employees succeed. So buckle up, positive managers, and get ready for next week when you tackle Phase 1, Module 1, the secret to your own success.